Hello, I just wanted to jump into your midweek inspirations and share with you my thoughts on perseverance. But before we get there, I forgot to mention this in our last meeting, which is that you should still be doing your mirror work, which means twice a day you are saying your affirmations. You are still saying the affirmations from the second revelation, which was commitment. So still be doing that mirror work, still be saying those affirmations twice a day. So let's talk about perseverance. Usually, if we are persevering or we consider ourselves persevering in a situation, is because that situation we feel it is uncomfortable for us. It may be arduous for us. It may be painful for us. And so we feel like, hey, I'm persevering through it. I'm trying to get through it. And so when I was younger, when I had a hardship, and when I was younger in the faith, I would pray and ask God to remove it from it, remove this hardship from my life. As I matured, I grew to realize that God uses hardship to expand our capacity to love. So now when I get into a situation that is uncomfortable or arduous or painful for me, I don't immediately go in prayer and ask God to remove it. I ask God to give me his perspective on it. Because I found that most things in our society were created because someone experienced pain and had the empathy, the foresight to afterward create a safe space for someone else. In the second revelation, I told you about, I think his name, I can't pronounce it fully now, Amadeus Giovanni. He was the immigrant who came from Italy, who created the Bank of Italy that is what we now know as Bank of America. He did that because he noticed an injustice that was going on with immigrants that were coming from Italy. They were being denied bank loans. And so that must have hurt his heart, frustrated him. And so he wanted to do something about that. And so that's why he created the Bank of Italy, to give those immigrants opportunities to build wealth, to buy homes, to open businesses, whatever they needed. So what if he had prayed that he didn't see it? I don't want to see this anymore. Make all of this go away. Then he would have never been a benefit to the many immigrants who were coming over and to the millions of people who use his bank today. So every instance that is uncomfortable and painful for us is not something that we're supposed to just self-medicate ourselves from seeing or experiencing or feeling. Sometimes we self-medicate with food, drugs, shopping, zoning out on Netflix, whatever it is, anything that serves as a distraction from the lesson or growth of the situation you're in can be an act of self-medication. And I'm not saying it's never a time to zone out and take a break, but I'm saying if you are in a season where you're going through something that's hard for you and that you are finding yourself having to persevere through it, that take a moment to see, is this something I'm supposed to grow from, a lesson that I'm supposed to learn? Because when I think back on it, those things that I prayed that God would take away, of course he didn't, because there was something he wanted to birth in my spirit, something that he wanted to grow out of me. And I think of those things, and those things were actually some of my greatest lessons that caused me to be more mature, that caused me to be more loving, that caused me to be more empathetic because I went through something hard. So then when I saw other people going through something, that I wanted to help them with it, i.e. this course, because I went through certain things, that everything wasn't taken away from me, that sometimes as we are persevering, there's something to be gleaned in that, even though it's uncomfortable, even though it's painful, even though you don't want to be there in that moment. So I want to give you an idea. So what if the thing that we attempt to avoid the most carried within it the gifts we most need to succeed, the gifts we most need to excel and grow? Not many people know this, but when an oyster forms a pearl, it's done under duress. Initially, there's a foreign substance that slips into the oyster, and it causes the oyster discomfort and pain. The pain and the discomfort that the oyster feels causes it to have a biological reaction that over time forms a pearl. And when I found that out, that also inspired one of my memes, that pain is often the birthplace of a revolution. And pain is often the birthplace of a divine change in our character, of a divine change in our insight. And it is often the birthplace of profound exaltation, unfettered liberation. So instead of perseverance, because I am talking about perseverance, I want to talk about the purpose of pain. So what we know sometimes is as pain, is just pain, is actually a place where a lesson is birthed, where your growth is made manifest, where your purpose is formed, where the power that you have that is being revealed to you is made perfect, where your beauty sometimes is realized, where your strength is born or reborn, where your understanding is made complete. So sometimes when I'm in an uncomfortable position or a time in my life situation, I sit in my pain. I sit in my pain and I make peace with my pain, because I know that the pain or discomfort that I feel on that day can absolutely serve as the launch pad for my miraculous. When I was going through the pain or the discomfort of all of the things I shared with my skin, it was causing me to take my identity away from the physical. What did I have of value outside of my face, outside of my skin? It caused me to look at myself in a new way and remember the things that were honorable and good about me that had nothing to do with my physical. So God needed to grow that in me in a different way. After my divorce, it was hurtful starting all over again. Well, it was hurtful and was scary. But in that pain, I regained my strength. I found out how strong I was and how I had the ability to rebound and overcome. So that pain that I went through, although it was hard, and I don't regret it, because it grew something new in me. So the pain or the discomfort or that thing that you're persevering through can absolutely be the launch pad for your miraculous. And I also want to say this. There's a difference between sitting in pain and wallowing in pain. So when you sit in your pain, you do so with the realization that this is a season. This is not a life sentence. You do so with the realization that you are not a victim. You are a student, and a valuable lesson is being birthed in your spirit. You do so with the realization that after this, you will not be the same. So I want you to look at perseverance in a different way. I want you to look at it as purposeful. It is a place where something that is going to be grown in you. Be inspired. You will not be this way on the other side of this. So this thing that you are persevering through that may feel disappointing to you, something that you have to release later, or that may be something that you have to forgive later, is still growing a character in you. It's still growing you in character. It's still growing you in strength. It's still growing you in understanding. So yes, it's hard, but you will endure, you will overcome, and you will thrive, because I'm going to be with you during this, and we are going to persevere through that thing. Okay? All right, be inspired, and I will see you next week.